I don't think I was ever obsessed with social media, but looking back on it, it was definitely a part of my lifestyle. I have been off of social media for 8 months now. Before we get too deep with any of this, let's just get the obvious benefit out of the way. Yes, my mind has less negative energy in it. What a surprise this is. Being off of social media does not in any way eradicate the difficulties of life. It simply allows you to access a state of mind in which the difficulties become easier to navigate and more enjoyable over time. So that state of mind is essentially what I'm trying to explain in this video. For me, sometimes all it would take is one post and I could get triggered into a loop of negative mental chatter. And I still haven't totally escaped from all of that, because even just occasionally checking my fucking email, I might just see one thing and I have to catch myself before I start ruminating about it and comparing myself. That's why I think about this spectrum of emotions a lot. While social media may be fun, it's rooted in lower frequency emotions because it can cause us to operate from feelings of jealousy and desire. But Jack, being alone with your thoughts sounds even worse, because then I'll get into a downward spiral of negative thinking. All you need to do is be aware of your thoughts so that you can reframe them towards the thoughts and emotions that you want to have more of. And that alone can change your life, because our mental chatter is literally what makes up the world that we live in. The thing is, awareness of what you're thinking about is that first step that most people don't take. And when you practice that, instead of avoiding yourself, you naturally start to gravitate towards those higher vibration emotions over time. Okay, now we're getting into some more interesting territory. You know how you can kind of picture scenes in your mind? Like if I told you to imagine ancient pyramids, you could probably construct a pretty good mental scene of that in your mind. See, the ability to imagine these graphic scenes in your mind is like a muscle that needs to be worked. And when we spend time on social media, or watching corn, if you will, that content does the imagining for us. So by being off of social media, I have no choice but to use my own imagination instead of letting it remain dormant by consuming videos that imagine for me. If we're scrolling through images or videos on social media, we don't have the capacity to come up with rich, rewarding mental images of our own. Now look, I know you gotta get inspiration and see what other content is out there in order to fuel your creativity, and I'll get into how to tackle that in a bit. The bottom line is that if you're distracting yourself or consuming, you are not imagining. Imagining is the first step in literally anything. Before you can create or manifest anything and bring it into reality, you have to imagine it first. While I was creating this YouTube video, for example, I had to imagine the idea and myself carrying out the process, and now you are watching a physical manifestation of a thought that I had. There is quite a bit going on when you get on social media. People are making funny videos, showing you fitness tips, reacting to things, and without that, our surroundings don't necessarily seem stimulating. What is supposed to be interesting about this sync? Presence allows you to be available to inspiration. There's a clip I'd like to show you. It is a clip of a philosopher. In this video, he is 96 years old and he is approaching death. Enjoy.
I look at the trees, blowing a little in the breeze, and I've seen them innumerable times. I see how marvelous it is. And I think to myself, I've had these here all along, but have I really appreciated them? And the fact is that I have not. Until now.
My friend, smell the flowers. You do not need to be 96-year-old philosopher approaching death in order to do this. You might conceive the perfect text to send to that person you like. You might just solve that math equation you've stayed up all night for trying to solve. Our ability to be present is interfered with by social media. Oftentimes, the things that are smartest for us to do involve not following the crowd. If Warren Buffett followed the crowd, you probably wouldn't know his name. Be fearful when others are greedy, and greedy when others are fearful. Social media is incredible because it can connect us to anyone, anywhere in the world. And that's also what makes it dangerous, because if you don't catch yourself, you can think like most other people in the world. And being away from social media prevents you from getting sucked into groupthink. But lastly, what do we do here? Because we do still want to reap some of the benefits of social media. We want to continue learning and gathering inspiration. I'm actually not opposed to leveraging YouTube as a medium for fueling your creativity and inspiration. People have to put more effort into their videos, and the videos need to be somewhat well constructed. It's just important to be extremely cautious about this and enter the platform with intent and be aware of people's motives. If you treat YouTube like an educational platform instead of a fast food restaurant that serves quick dopamine, you may actually encounter some transformative advice, especially if you watch lectures or podcasts. But there is one medium that I think comes out on top that I recommend prioritizing over all of the other ones, and that is books. If books seem boring or not stimulating to you, I am the poster child of somebody who understands what you mean. I used to laugh at the idea that I would ever be interested in books, but I decided to give it a try a while back, and looking back on it, I can tell you some of the benefits that I've seen from reading. First off, books are refined, typically over the course of years, so the material you're consuming is in its most cogent and clear form. And due to the fact that quality in yields quality out, anything you do will likely have a higher quality output. So whether you're talking to people, coming up with ideas for something, figuring out your life decision, any of that output will be of a higher quality because you're feeding a good input. On top of that, your ability to articulate improves because you are feeding your mind words that are well put. And second, it's only text, so you need to work your imagination muscle instead of watching something that does it for you. When I talked about imagination earlier, books are a great way of developing that. And third, from reading, you can consume from a more objective standpoint and avoid bias. When you read, there is not a face to attach the information to. And sometimes we can sway towards believing somebody or not believing someone just because of how we feel about their appearance. And this is hard to catch because oftentimes we don't even realize we're doing it. Lastly, whatever you read tends to stay more top of mind because books require more time and effort to ingest. So if you're learning about something, or even if you're engaged in an interesting fiction story, it doesn't just get lost in an ocean of other voices and opinions. So those are my 4 reasons for prioritizing reading. But overall, I hope that this makes sense. And these are the main takeaways that I've seen from being off of social media for the past 8 months. Now, I do also want to touch on some of the disadvantages of this so that the video here is a bit more well-rounded. First off, I feel like I am out of the loop. My friends are referring to memes that I have never even heard of, and even though we're the same age, I feel like I'm 80 years old, which can lead to me feeling doubtful about the fact that I'm not online as much, and then I start to question if it's all worth it. It's like a fear of missing out on some potent ideas that social media might offer me. The next struggle is that I myself am a creator, and social media is how I put my material out there. And one of the effects of that is that I'm not as in touch with trends that might actually help me to spread my content. But hey, just because I'm the chef doesn't mean I have to taste the food. These are the main downsides that I've noticed so far anyways, and I think that what I would gain by trying to go on social media to get these rewards, it just doesn't feel like it's worth it to me. Because my filter has become so strict for what I allow to enter my mental space, it's hard to see how I could open like anything on Instagram. And I like protecting myself from potentially negative sources online. Even though I'll never be able to like fully cut myself off from all of the noise out there, I feel like it's worth the effort. Thank you for watching this video. Feel free to click the like button and subscribe if you want to have more constructive content on your YouTube page, and have a wonderful rest of your day. Peace out.